today, the spiritual principle that I want us to together unpack and really lean into on the quantum level is our divine connection with spirit, and how the highest truth is that we truly are never, ever alone. It is impossible. And this divine idea of connection, that we are all connected on the seen and unseen sides of life, is found throughout the world's religions in a multitude of ways. This particular time of year, I'm always struck by the beautiful reminder that the often invisible, not always, and I will get to that, companionship and presence of angels or angelic beings appear so much in humanity's stories and folklore, especially around this time of year. The idea of angels is actually part of our shared human experience across history. Angels exist in all three Abrahamic faiths: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and in many, many others. In Zoroastrianism, for example, angels are a very important part of the faith tradition. In fact, they believe that every person is assigned a guardian angel. It's literally part of their faith. People in the Sikh and Baha'i faiths believe in angels. In non-Judeo-Christian belief structures, in particular in the earth-based religions and Native American traditions, angels are experienced in the form of animal spirit guides or animal totems. Many indigenous cultures across the world believe that their ancestors, specifically their grandparents, actually, are their angels and their guides. This idea of angelic beings is also found across all of Asia and in the most ancient Asian traditions. Fun fact for y'all, in the earliest versions of angels that we have depicted in art and on ancient artifacts, angels had no gender. They were non-binary. How cool is that? All comes back around. Also, a fun thing that I like to kind of lean into, it helps me expand my mind in an even greater way in this conversation, is that originally angels had no wings. That came much later. And it came into sort of the human experience of it. But that was not the original idea. I like the take that Thomas Aquinas had. He believed that angels are 100% spirits that have no mass or matter and take up no space. He equated their existence to human thought. Therefore, in answer to the historical question asked about angels, how many angels can dance on the point of a pin, Aquinas reasoned that every angel in the cosmos could dance on the point of a single pin, and there would still be space left over. So those inner nudges we sometimes get, he believed, and this was in the 12th and 12th century, he believed that those inner nudges were our angels guiding us. Now, if you're sitting there right now, here or at home, and your brow is slightly furrowed, or maybe you're scratching your head a wee bit, and you're like, where have I landed? I'm just going to invite you for the next 20 minutes or so to just be open to what I am going to share for you and what might emerge from within you when we open up to this idea. When we allow ourselves in the mystery, we allow curiosity. And when we are curious, we learn all kinds of things about ourselves and others and the world. Curiosity is a portal to compassion and deep wisdom. So in this conversation, I'm going to invite all of us, wherever you are on the sort of spectrum of angel talk, I'm going to really invite you into curiosity. The great Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman wrote, it's my favorite quote about angels, by the way. He wrote, There must be always remaining in every life some place for the singing of angels, some place for that which in itself is breathlessly beautiful. Despite all the crassness of life, despite all the hardness of life, despite all the hard discords of life, life is saved by the singing of angels. Despite all the crassness of life, despite all the hardness of life, despite all the hard discords of life, life is saved by the singing of angels. You know, prior to the pandemic, 7 out of 10 Americans believed in angels or some sort of angelic realm. Post-pandemic, now at the end of 2023, 8 out of 10 Americans believe in angels or some form of angelic beings. This makes sense to me given all that we have gone through. Many people talk about the experience of feeling an angelic presence or connection to the spirit realm during heightened human experiences. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, thanks to technology, have been able to connect and report and share their experiences of an angelic presence of some kind during a near-death experience, or disasters on the battlefield when a loved one has just passed or is getting ready to pass, during the birth or adoption of a baby. Many renowned leaders, artists, and spiritual teachers spoke about receiving guidance from angelic beings. Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon him, Socrates, Nikola Tesla, Da Vinci, Emerson, Joan of Arc, Swedenborg, Bernadette of Lourdes, Carl Jung, and so many others talked about key pivotal moments in their life where they experienced communication with the angelic realm. So how can we even begin to understand this mystery? How can we? We start by recognizing, my dears, that there is so much that goes on in our world that we cannot see. There is multi-layered divine intelligence at work all of the time. And we, as people on a faith path, are asked to trust this. So I'm going to invite you in this moment, just take a second and look at your hand. Those of you here and online, just put your hand right in front of you. Look at your hand and notice what you see. You might even flip it over. Just notice what you see of your hand. Now, I'm going to invite John to put up a 3D image of the inside of our hand. Look at all those arteries. Look at all that gloriousness that we can't see. Look at all that's happening on the inside of our very bodies. Now, I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye a butterfly on a rose. Can you see it? Do you have it? A butterfly on a rose. Now, I want to invite you to kind of focus in on the butterfly's wing. Bring into your awareness a butterfly's wing. Now, I would like for us to all look at a butterfly's wing under a microscope. Is that amazing? That's microscopic photography. That's a butterfly's wing. And now imagine, if you will, that rose. Can you just isolate one rose petal? I see right here, Mary's beautiful flowers. There's a rose petal right here. Now, John, if you would, this is a rose petal under a microscope. Look at the world that exists on a single rose petal. There is so much life that is happening underneath that which we can see. There is an entire world, an entire universe, divine intelligence at work. It's always in motion, whether we see it or not. You know, in this teaching of ours in New Thought, we talk every week on some level, in some way, about going deeper, looking deeper. Just like in every major faith tradition, we are called to step into the faith and go beyond the physical. That's what it is to have faith, to look even more deeply into ourselves and beyond simply that which is right in front of us. And when we follow this logic, to look deeper, it leads us to the inevitable discovery that there is a divine intelligence, also in some traditions referred to as a host of angels, at work on our behalf. In this universe, there is the ethereal spiritual realm, that which we call spirit, that is for us, that is benevolent. And it's all the way down to the most microscopic level. Isn't that extraordinary? When we say it's all God, this is what we mean. It is all God. It is all spirit. And loves, we are all a part of it. All of us together, working together. The very first woman to ever serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, 12 years before Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was the trailblazer Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. She made her transition this past Friday at the age of 93. She said, "We don't accomplish anything in this world alone." We don't accomplish anything in this world alone. I want you to think for just one moment of anything in your life, if you can point to anything that you've accomplished just by yourself. It is literally impossible. It's impossible. Even if what you received was a nudge to do something. Do you see? We are never alone, ever. There is this force of love, of agape love. When I talk about love up here, I'm talking about agape love. That is unconditional love. That is the kind of love the way that Spirit loves us, right? It's agape love. And it is at work all the time in this universe. And the more that we can lean into and listen to and be present to that, the more light we can bring forth. And when I speak of light up here, make no mistake, I am not talking about the hallmarky version of light. I am not talking about the love and light it away. Light, the original meaning of light meant spiritual enlightenment. That is light, spiritual enlightenment. And so as we lean into this communication with the divine, what is happening is we are then moving ourselves into higher and higher frequencies of vibrancy. We are experiencing more spiritual enlightenment, more light. And the more we do that, the more we can bring that forth in this world. I want to introduce to you a young man by the name of Nick Bosstick. Nick Bosstick, here he is right here. At the time of this picture, Nick was 25 years old. This was taken a year ago, actually. June of 2022. Nick was a pizza maker, 25 years old. And he had experienced a very difficult journey. He had experienced a very difficult life. He started getting into drugs at 18, and he was addicted from the time he was 18 to the time he was 25. And on this particular night, he had been clean and sober for just 2.5 months. So he was in a very vulnerable state. And he happened that evening to get in an argument with his girlfriend. Now, Nick is someone who had attempted to take his life 3 separate times in his journey up to that night, up to that point. And when he got into this argument with his girlfriend, he decided he was just going to go on a drive. He just needed to clear his head. You know, he just needed to have some quiet time to process. Again, he was in a very vulnerable state. And so he was driving aimlessly, turning left, turning right, going down this street, going down that street, processing the argument, clearing his head, when he happened to turn down one particular street. And as he looked up, he saw a house on fire. And the firefighters had not yet arrived. He didn't even think twice. He pulled his car over. And if you can look this up online. If you see the pictures, it's horrifying. I mean, the house was engulfed in flames. He jumped out of the car. He ran around to the side of the house, walked into the side of the house, and yelled to see if he could help anyone. He discovered that there was an older teenager gal, maybe a senior in high school, and she was frantic trying to gather her little brothers and sisters. She had 4 little siblings, and she couldn't find the youngest one. Nick ran in. He helped them get out. He told her that he would get her little sister. She takes the other kids. They run out of the house. He did 2 things. This is important. This 25-year-old kid himself took a deep breath and listened. He took a deep breath and he listened through the flames for little Kaylani, 6-year-old Kaylani. He was able, because he took a deep breath and he focused, he was able to find her. He grabbed her in one arm, and with the other arm, he busted open the window and he jumped out of the window, landing on the arm that wasn't holding the little one, and then made his way running as best he could to the curb where the firefighters had arrived. They took Kaylani out of his arms immediately into the ambulance. She is fine, by the way. And he sat down on the curb, and you can actually hear video of him. He had inhaled a lot of smoke. He was hospitalized for several days for injuries. You can hear him on the sidewalk, and all he is saying is the baby okay? Is the baby okay? That day changed the trajectory of his entire life. Nick Bostic received the Carnegie Medal of Honor. It's the highest honor bestowed on a civilian for heroism. And there is a beautiful interview with the father and the mother of these children who had just gone out on a date night. And the father, I wanted to get it right, so I wrote down his quote. He said, "God uses the most unlikely characters, and that night, God sent us an angel named Nick Bostic." Think for a moment if Nick had not been nudged to get clean and sober 2.5 months prior to that. Think about if he and his girlfriend hadn't gotten into an argument. There's some mystery for you. Think about if he hadn't been listening and followed guidance to turn left and right and go down that street. Think if he hadn't have had the guidance and listened to breathe and listen. He had seconds to save her. Seconds. Nick Bostic has now decided that he is going to become a police officer. There was a GoFundMe campaign to raise money to pay for his medical bills, and their goal was $100,000, and it's now exceeded $600,000. Our angels and guides support us in every single aspect of our daily life. When I am up here and I talk about spirit, I'm talking about all of spirit, the spirit realm and all of its magnificence. We are a panentheistic teaching. We understand that God or spirit or source is in, through, and as all things, and in the mystery. I know we want to know. I learned several years ago one of the most powerful responses I can ever make to myself and others are 3 words: I don't know. I don't know why Kaylani was saved that night and others have not been. I do not know why sometimes we celebrate these incredible, incredible moments of glory and grace, and other times we grieve when these things don't happen. I want to be very clear in this conversation that I share with you that even in those moments where the outcome is not what we want, I don't know why, but I know that God is in it. There is no spot where God is not, right? And when we can lean into these angelic moments, when we can lead into the spiritual guidance that we get, I believe it buoys us for all the experiences that this life gives us, yes? That is what we have an opportunity to turn towards, because that produces hope. And hope produces peace. In the Gospel of Thomas, which is a very early Christian text, Jesus says, "Split the wood, I am there. Lift the stone, and you will find me there." God, Spirit, Source, is always working through us in ways that we understand and ways that we don't. Our angels and our guides support us in every single aspect of our life, whether we are turning left or right, or getting clean and sober, or asking for help, or going down a particular street. We, my loves, we are here as vehicles for the divine. Ernest Holmes said God can only do for us what God can do through us, so it behooves us to listen deeply, to recognize that we are the vessels for this love on earth. Every single time we feel nudged to help someone, or to forgive, or to soften our edges, or to jump in, or to kick the ball. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch last week's talk. Every time we can, as Nick said, take a breath and listen, we are doing God's work. We are doing the work of Spirit, of angels. We are always, always connected to Spirit. It is the most true thing about us. And we in this world of matter can have a tendency to forget that. I want to normalize this. I was talking with my sister the other day. We were having a chat about it. And I said to her, you know what? I'm just not even going to call it woo-woo anymore. Because it isn't. It's the most normal thing. It isn't. It is who we are and how we are. I started a spiritual practice a couple of years ago that I want to share with you. And it is now my normal. And I remember when it wasn't. And when I first started saying it, sometimes it was came out a little clunky. And now it just comes out normal. Anytime that I am, let's say, on the phone with a customer service agent who goes out of their way, you know how that is? It's like, this is the third time I've been hung up on, and I'm just calling back because I need da 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 da. And then you get that angel that goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, la la la, let me help you, let me do this, let me do that. When you are out in the world, wherever you may be, at Target or the post office or wherever it is, and someone holds the door for you, helps you in any way, if you have your arms full or whatever it might be, there's a gazillion different ways. I now have a spiritual practice, and I say to the person, and sometimes I have to take a deep breath and listen and say, okay, God. And I say, you are my angel today. Thank you. Oh, you're my angel today. Thank you. Sometimes you're my angel for the month. Thank you. And I will tell you, only once in a blue moon will I get a sideways glance. It is an instant way to make friends. It's an instant way to have a connection with someone. There's an instant understanding. 8 out of 10 Americans, remember, believe in angels or some sort of spiritual guidance. So I'm going to invite you this week to lean into that practice. And you can start small. Start with your family or friends if you're comfortable. Just start naming it. You're my angel today. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Angel of mine. Thank you. It opens it up and it normalizes it. I love how Ernest Holmes summed it up. He wrote, "If we seek the divine in humankind, we shall find it and be entertaining angels unawares." Such a beautiful take on that line from Scripture. If we seek the divine in humankind, we shall find it and be entertaining angels unaware. So I invite you this week to open your heart to recognize in real time those nudges. Those nudges are from the divine itself. The messages, the signs, they're all around us, and they have been found throughout human history for millennia. This isn't anything new. I invite you to lean into it as your new normal. For some of you, it already is your normal. We can always go deeper in our understanding and our faith of God and Spirit and Source.